It is time to review Plan B. This is a comedy that stars Jon Heder, Jamie Lee, Kate Flannery, Tom Berenger, and Shannon Elizabeth. It's currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video, but thanks to Quiver Distribution, I was able to screen this film. I gotta say, for me, it's uber problematic, which I'll get into. Now, this was directed by Brandon Tamburi, who also produced Hereditary. Let's get into what it's about and why it's problematic for me. So, first, Plan B is a play on the contraceptive pill, which is basically the morning after pill, and a backup plan. So Plan B is about Jamie Lee, who plays Piper. She, after a drunken stupor, ends up sleeping with her neighbor who she barely knows and doesn't like, gets pregnant because the condom is old. And in 2 weeks, she realizes that it's too late for her to take the pill. And because she is getting older in years, she believes she should have this baby, but she doesn't want him. Jon Heder plays her next door neighbor. She doesn't want him to be the father because she thinks that he isn't father material. Stay with me. So she devises this plan to sleep with a different guy and pretend that he is the father so that she can have a better father for her child, even though she's a bad person. This is problematic on so many levels. First of all, the first scene, she is thrown out of the club because she's so drunk. She stumbles home, barely coherent, and sleeps with her neighbor. That is so problematic on so many levels because although they present this as her being in control of her faculties enough to consent, no, it doesn't work. That is the linchpin really to the rest of the narrative. That is a bad way to start this film. I was already cringing. And then for her to lie to herself and to these two men because she doesn't want Jon Hader's character to be a father of her child. And then she sleeps with this man, this finance bro, who she initially doesn't like, but then she lures him to sleep with her. That's problematic. And then goads him on to believe that he is the father of her child. And she has a roommate who is a nurse that is supposed to be the conscience of the film, but she's not even good. Like, as a protagonist, she's too flawed. And so I cringed the whole journey of her coming to realize how bad of a person she is. She, I felt, didn't have redemption quality. Like she was irredeemable, where she's a bad protagonist, she's a bad person. The journey is so long and there's comedy there. They try to make this situation humorous, but it is not funny. And she wants a better father when she's not even a good mother. I thought the journey to get to the ending with her realizing what a big mistake this was too long, and the ending just wasn't satisfying for me. There was a film last year or the year before starring Malin Ackerman. It's called Donor Party. It was one of the worst films for me of that year, and it was very similar to this, where Malin had divorced her husband and saw that he had moved on so quickly, and his new wife and he had a baby. And so she yearned for her a baby of her own. And so she, at this Thanksgiving party, I think, or birthday party, she devised a plan to sleep with all of these men so that she can use their seed to have a baby without them knowing about what her intentions were. Jamie Lee is a writer, so I imagine that she punched up some of the humor because, especially in the beginning, her comedy is well timed. and works. It's very humorous, not laugh out loud, hilarious, but funny, where you can tell that she understood her character despite her character being a bad person. Seems like she, from her perspective as a writer, contributed to arcing this character because nobody else was funny to me. I didn't think Jon Heder was funny, and he seemed too old in the character to even be making the jokes. Like his cat's name is Cat Sajak, and they watch Wheel of Fortune together. I don't know. I didn't like it. It is heavy, especially front loaded with a lot of exposition, and then they include title cards that is overkill, I think, because it's so heavy in exposition. And they spend a lot of time laboring in scenes, which I think contributes to how cringe-worthy it was for me, because they're staying in these scenes that are just, it's bad because the character is so flawed, and for me gets to a point of no return. I think that the character is flawed to the point of irredeemability, and so staying in those scenes for a long time just felt very labor intensive for me. I think that the characters are written in a way that seem to portray them as being too old to be making these poor choices, to be making these poor decisions. They're too old to still be acting like they're in their teens and 20s. They're so irresponsible in the decisions that they make that they're written as if they're caricatures. Jamie's comedic timing works for the most part, but because her character is the age she is, making these irresponsible choices and bringing life into the world, I think made her character just too flawed to go on such a journey with her. I didn't like it because of those factors. Right now, as it stands on IMDb with 680 reviews, it's at a 6.5. I wouldn't give it a 6.5. For me, it's a 3 because it starts off weak because it's so problematic for me. But what do you think? Have you seen Plan B and do you like it? What rating would you give Plan B? And if you haven't seen it, you're in luck because Plan B is currently streaming on Amazon Prime Video.